Imagine finding your dream home, but underneath that charming facade are issues that could cost you more than a brand new luxury car. That's right, today we are uncovering some of the top hidden home inspection nightmares that could turn your dream home into a financial burden. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. And I don't know what it is you're waiting for. Go ahead, hit that red subscribe button and mash that bell so that you are notified of my content. That's right, friends. As mentioned, today we are going to discuss some costly home inspection repairs that really could torpedo your transaction. So whether you're a buyer thinking about buying a home, these are things that you might want to be aware of. And if you're a seller, well, again, these are things that could either torpedo your transaction or result in you forking up a significant amount of money. So starting out with the foundation. Now, when it comes to the foundation, I want for you to think of the area that surrounds or that your house sits on. So it's not theoretically the bricks and the sticks of the house, but maybe it's the slab that your house sits on, or maybe even the basement foundation, right? The things that hold up the house. It could also equate to some of the surrounding grading, whether it be cement or soil, grass that grades either to or away from the property. Foundational issues very well could be pretty expensive. Now, don't get me wrong, there are foundational issues. As a matter of fact, there are repairs or issues underneath each one of these categories that we're going to discuss today that could be considered a small repair. So a foundational repair that could be considered small might be something along the lines of maybe filling in a crack in the foundation, or maybe regrading your soil so that the rainwater runs away from the property, not towards the property. These would be repairs that are considered small foundational repairs that would generally equate to less than $1,000. But if we were to take a look at some of the more expensive foundation repairs, well, some of that would equate to either underpinning or maybe even replacement of the entire foundation. And well, if you're going to go that route, or you're faced with some of those repairs, more than likely we're talking in excess of $10,000, probably between $10,000 and $15,000 would be a safe bet for a larger foundational repair. Now, moving on from the foundation, next up would be your roof. Keep in mind, yes, there are small roof repairs, such as maybe patching a small area or replacing a missing shingle that possibly blew off during a windstorm, or maybe even reattaching a gutter so that the rainwater again comes down the roof and down the gutter system and away from the property. Okay, and again, some of those repairs, several $100s. But if a roof fails and you're looking at replacing the roof, this is where the dollar signs quickly add up. If you're in an urban area such as Philadelphia, or an area where there are a lot of homes that are connected, such as older row homes, a lot of these homes have flat rubber roofs. And a flat rubber roof is probably one of the most inexpensive roofs to fix, and probably could be addressed for less than $5,000. But if you're dealing with a roof that is either a composite shingle roof, or even something along the lines of a cedar shake roof or a ceramic roof, which you don't see too often here in this area of the country, but they do exist. And if you have to replace a roof in its entirety, well, now the numbers again quickly go up. You're probably going to spend somewhere around $15,000 to $25,000. Now, keep in mind, if you have a specialty roof, which is either going to be a cedar shake or a ceramic roof, they're going to be significantly more expensive. Not only that, but the amount of people or contractors who are able to work on those types of roofs will be limited. So if you have either a cedar shake, ceramic, or maybe even an older slate roof, I hate to break it to you, but it's going to cost you. So now that we've gone through the foundation and we've replaced the roof, next on the list, my friends, plumbing. Now, generally when we think of plumbing, we think about just the plumbing feeds that are in our house that supply water to maybe our kitchen sink or to our bathtub, or maybe even the water simply to the toilet. But when it comes to plumbing, there's a lot more to consider than just those items. Regardless what type of property you have. There are plumbing repairs that can get extremely expensive. So if you're in an area where your home is connected to a public sewer, where every time you flush the toilet or you run the water, that water gets sent out and treated at a public wastewater facility, the costly repair that you may have to face one day is replacing the cast iron waste pipe that goes from your basement to the street. As a homeowner, you are responsible for the entire waste line from where it leaves your house to where it connects to the public sewer under the street. Now, when these sewer lines collapse, a lot of times you don't know because they are hidden underneath your grass, your sidewalk, and then again connecting to your street. So when you go to replace that, you can already imagine that you're going to need heavy machinery. You're going to have to excavate in order to get to that lateral sewer line. Very expensive, and you're probably looking at somewhere around $10,000 for a repair along those lines. But if we take it a step further and your home is set up on a septic system or has a well, which supplies your domestic potable water, the water that you drink and shower with, these also can become relatively expensive. Septic systems, there's several things that you need to even establish before you can determine whether or not the septic system can be replaced. And that includes testing such as a perk test and other testing to determine where exactly the septic system can go on the property. But let's just assume that the septic system failed and it's going to be replaced in its exact location, same exact size holding tank. You're probably looking at $15, $20, maybe even up to $30,000 to replace your septic system. And if you have a well, generally treating the quality of the water is not an expensive repair. These things are usually done just by adding a simple UV light or other chemicals to make sure that the water is treated properly. But if the well starts to run dry and you have to dig that well down, well, again, now we're talking heavy machinery and limited contractors who are qualified to do that work, meaning you're going to pay more. And then last but not least are your structural defects. Now, these are the ones that concern me the most because your structure, that's the bricks and the sticks. That's literally the house itself. Some of the other repairs that we spoke about previously could be the reason why you end up having structural repairs. To kind of help unpack that a little bit, if your foundation needs improvement and you don't take corrective action, that could end up resulting in structural issues, because if the house starts to lean in any given direction for an extended amount of time, it's going to have a negative impact on the integrity of that structure. Or maybe you had a significant plumbing leak that was behind a wall and you didn't know, and over time that rotted away wood, resulting in a structural issue. Or something that's a little bit more common, termites or powder post beetles have created so much damage to the structure of the property that you now have to revisit and shore up the integrity of the property. The reason structural repairs are significantly expensive is because when you get involved with structural repairs, a lot of times it will also involve a structural engineer. When you're dealing with structural integrity issues, some of these things that you might have to take on or tackle from a smaller perspective might be something along the lines of a bow in a wall, or replacing one stud that maybe was affected by powder post beetles or termites. But if we're talking larger ticket items, we could be talking about replacement of the entire roof, including trusses and rafters, decking, all of those moving mechanics that literally would make up your roof. Or it could be things like sistering basement joists. Your joists and your support beams are what hold the house up. So over time, if the integrity of that support system starts to fail, you might need to do things referred to as sistering of joist, where you're implementing and bringing in new wood or new support beams, attaching it to the previous support beams so that you are increasing the overall structural integrity of the home, and so that technically it doesn't just fall over. But some of the smaller structural repairs, as I mentioned, maybe correcting a bow and wall or replacing one defective stud, very well could be a couple $100 or maybe $1,000, give or take. But when we flip that and we look at some of the larger structural issues that I mentioned, I don't even want to put a number on it, but you're probably talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $15,000 plus. So now that you made it this far, I want to give you a little bit of advice underneath some of these categories. When you are buying a home inspector is well-rounded and knowledgeable to an extent regarding these areas. So one thing that I would suggest is, in the event you run into a situation where the inspector isn't able to make you feel warm and fuzzy, feel free to go back and request certifications. You are able to get a certification on some of these items. For example, a roof certification is when a roofer comes out, does an inspection on the property, and certifies that it's in working condition for a minimum of 12 to 24 months. They are certifying that that roof is doing what it's designed to do. You can do the same thing for structural items. You can also do the same thing for foundation items. You may also get a heating cert. Heating cert, very much like a roof cert or a chimney cert or any of those moving mechanics, is literally when a professional comes out and says the inspector looked at this, noted that it might be not functioning at 100%, but when they come in and do their inspection, they determine that there is still life in any of those items. You can request a certification. And that should provide a little bit of peace of mind and maybe even save you some money. So if you're thinking about buying a home, as I've always stressed, it is extremely important for you to hire a knowledgeable home inspector, but it's also important for you, if you're selling your home, to get in front of some of these things. And I always encourage for my sellers to get their home pre-inspected before they even hit the market. Get in front of some of these defects that could result in a buyer completely walking away. So hopefully you found a little bit of value in this video, and maybe this video will keep you from, well, skipping a home inspection now that you know that some of these repairs could be extremely expensive. As usual, there is a guide for you to download in the description. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them. I would love to answer those questions. And until next time, take care.